Hey guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to show you how to create these procedural spalted wood textures in Blender with no add-ons. We are going to create a classic spalted wood with dark lines and another variation with red and green colors. Before we begin, think about hitting the like button and subscribing. It really helps the channel out. All right, now before we get texturing, let's start off by making sure that our render engine is set to cycles, the device is set to GPU compute if that option is available to you, and under viewport, change your max samples to about 20 for a fast viewport render, and make sure denoise is enabled. All right, let's start off by getting rid of this default cube right here and adding a UV sphere. And make sure that under Object, you click Shade Smooth, and we can now go into the shading panel right here and click New to bring up our node setup. And one thing I'm going to do right off the bat is just change the roughness to 0.3 just to make it a little bit more shiny. And we can now add a wave texture and place it right about here. And with it selected, you can hold down Control and press T to bring up the texture coordinate and mapping node. And you can connect the object to the vector right here. And now we're going to add a color ramp. Now we're going to connect the factor of the wave texture to the factor of the color ramp and the color ramp to the principal BSDF. Okay, now what we're going to do is add two new colors. And we're going to leave this one really on the far end here black because we need our black lines in the spalted wood. But we need some gradation of color. We need some different browns in there to give it a little bit more life. So let's start off by changing this first gray node right here. Let's bring this down to about here. You can finesse these colors to where you kind of want them. I'm going to make this a bit of a darker brown and bring this slider down to around, it looks like 15% of the way down. And I'm going to crunch it by bringing it much closer to this black right there. Now we're going to now take this little slider right here and we're going to duplicate that color, the brown right here, and we're going to just raise the slider to about halfway, just a little bit under halfway. Yeah, that seems good. And now we're going to bring this one really close. I would say just about to where it's at this end of the minus sign. Let's bring this one a little bit closer. And now let's change this white slider way over here. Let's use the dropper tool to duplicate this color. And we're going to now raise the slider again, make it even lighter. There we go. All right. Now you can see we sort of just have the basis. Let's change this right here in the wave texture from bands to rings. All right. Now, I know it's looking really weird, but we're going to make some changes and it'll look better really fast. So, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to distort these waves, like the lines. We're going to distort those. We're going to use a noise texture to do that, and it's going to add a lot of detail and really help us out. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the factor of this noise texture and we're going to plug it into the scale. And as you can see right off the bat, it already has a spalted wood sort of a look to it in terms of the quality of the lines, if you will. So let's let's make some changes. Let's increase the distortion to about 10, and let's increase the detail to about 3.5 under the wave texture. And right now, I think I'm just going to increase the detail roughness to 0.6. Now when you start messing with the detail roughness, some finer details can really add up in the end. So, all right, let's come over here to the noise texture and let's change it to about 7.5. And it makes it a lot more fine. If we crank it, you'll see it just gets really, really, detailed and really sparse. But I think I'm going to keep mine at 7.5. You can do whatever you'd like though. So I'm going to decrease my detail to 1.5, which I just like the way that looks. And I'm going to leave the rest of the settings alone for now. But what I want to do is I want to affect the surface a little bit more. I want to make the actual surface of the mesh look like it just has a little bit more texture. It looks really, really smooth right now. So let's start off by duplicating this noise texture and bringing it down here. And with it selected, I'm going to press backspace just to reset it. And I'm going to connect the mapping to the vector of the noise texture. And I'm now going to duplicate this color ramp and bring it down here next to the noise texture. And with it selected, I'll press backspace and it'll reset it. And I'm going to connect the factor of the noise texture to the color ramp right here. And nothing's happening because I haven't joined them yet. I'm not actually going to join this noise texture and this color ramp to the actual color data. I'm going to use them in a bump node. So what we're going to do is we're going to introduce a few bump nodes. And I'm going to just place this one right here, and I'm going to plug the color data from the wave texture, or the color ramp data from the wave texture, into the height right here. And I'm going to plug it into the normal right there. And I want to just alter the distance to 0.03. And it just gives the wood itself just an ever so slight depth. You don't really have to have that. I kind of like the way that looks. If you don't like the way that looks, you can just leave it out and just have it be like a surface sort of a thing. That's totally fine. All right, now what we're gonna do here is we're gonna duplicate this bump node and place it right here. Do not connect it right there. So what we're gonna do now is we're going to connect our color ramp data into the height right here. And we're gonna take the normal and we're gonna plug it into this normal right here. Don't just connect it automatically. So now what we're gonna do is we're going to drag this little black slider to where I would say it's just a little bit past this arrow right here. And let's drag the white slider to right about here, where it's right about under this little arrow. And let's decrease the scale to 0.1. And then we'll increase the detail to 15. Maybe I'll increase that scale to like about, I say, a 0.4. I like the 0.4 a lot better, actually. Yeah. So that is pretty much it. If this is the look that you are looking for, then you are done. You can increase this bump node to about 0.05. I think that even actually makes it, that subtle detail just gives it that light kind of wood texture during a close-up. I think that looks really good. So yeah, if this is what you're after, you are done. You can definitely make some changes to the scale right here, you know, and distortion to give it more of a look. You know, really whatever you think is working. But if that's what you're looking for, you are done. And now we are ready to move on to the next texture. All right, now what we want to do is add another UV sphere. And we are going to move it on the x-axis right here. And we are going to make sure that it is shaded smooth, just like the one before. And we'll click new, and let's begin. Just like before, we're going to adjust the roughness just a little bit down to 0.3, just to make it a little bit shinier. Spalted wood generally has like a little bit of a coat, a little bit of like a lacquer, if you will. So let's now add a wave texture, just like before. Oh, not a wavelength, a wave texture. And we'll hold down Control and press T, and we will adjust the object to the vector right here. And now we'll add our color ramp just like before, but we're going to add some more colors, obviously. We're going to have a total of 6. So we're going to press this 4 times, and we're going to connect the factor to the factor and the color to the color right here. So now what we're going to do really quick is also change it from bands to rings, and now we can start messing with our colors. So obviously we're going to leave our black just black, and we're going to just leave that right against the wall. And this one right here, we are going to change to a really dark brown. I mean, as dark as it can possibly be with almost not becoming black, if you will. So then we're going to now change this one right here to a dark green. I would say somewhere right about here, but pull that slider down to where it just, yeah, right about here-ish. You want it to be more dark than that. And then right here, we're going to create our red. Just go straight down, right almost to the bottom, but we'll bring the slider down to darken it right about there. I'd say just under 50%. And then this one will become a light brown. Right about here, and we'll bring this to about 50%. And then we'll duplicate our previous color with the eyedropper tool, and then we will just raise the slider to make it lighter. All right. Yeah, there we go. Now we just got to move these around a little bit. And what we're going to do is bring this brown really close. And we're going to just adjust the green to where it's a little bit closer. The red is right about here between the minus and the arrow. This I want to be just under the B, and this one you can leave as it is. So there we go. Now we can start it off by adding some more noise textures to this like we kind of did before, but we're going to get a little bit more wild with it. We're going to plug this one into the scale, again, the factor into the scale, and it does something very similar to before. I already like the way it looks with the colors just based like that, but let's now just increase our distortion to about 11, and we'll increase our detail to 15. And I'm going to leave the detail scale alone, but I want to, like before, change the detail roughness to 0.6. Yeah, that gives it just a little bit of like this quality to it. So, all right, now what we can do here is we can now duplicate our noise texture right here. And now what we're going to do is we're going to plug the factor into the scale and the distortion. And it gives us this sort of more unique look to it. If you don't like the way that this like looks right here, you can go there and just change the detail scale to 5. Or the detail roughness to 5, sorry, and it just takes care of that. It just depends on what you want. I'll leave it off for now. But I'm going to change the detail right here under this noise texture to 1.5. And I'm going to now come over here and I'm going to now increase the scale to about, I think I'm going to go with 20. You can mess around with it, see what works for you. I think that 20 gives it this kind of like the scattered look that I kind of like. But you can definitely, like I said, make changes to it, figure out what works for you. And now I change the detail to 3, and I'm thinking that looks pretty decent right about there. We can make some changes though. So let's come up here and let's decrease the distortion to about, I don't know, let's change it to 8. Yeah, that looks good too. So yeah, it just depends on what you're looking for. I like to mess around with them, texturing. Now let's add our bump node right here. And let's connect our color to the height and the normal to the normal. And we're going to change the distance to 0.05. And it already kind of gives us a nice, look to it. I think it affects the surface as well as the spalding lines nicely. And you can click invert. I actually think I like invert better. Yeah, I like invert a little bit better. And then, this is depending. If you don't want the bump node, don't use it. That's the beauty part about Blender. So yeah, if this is what you're looking for, if this is the specific, look in terms of that spalded look, you are done. You are done. But let's take this one further. Let's go back into the layout tab right here and let's add a cube and we'll scale it on the Z-axis so it's pretty thin, and then we'll scale it on the X-axis. So it is also a little bit thinner on that. And then we'll scale it on the Y-axis to make it really long. We'll pop into camera view mode and let's bring it down on the Z-axis. And let's just move it really far on the X-axis to like way out here. A little bit, move it again on the G-axis. Scale it too. And let's use an array modifier to make some wooden boards out of the spalted wood. So let's just increase the factor of the X right here. So it's just got a little bit of spacing. Let's see that spacing a little bit closer. Yeah, we'll make it 1.2. 0 on the numpad to go back into camera view mode. And let's just start increasing that count. Yeah, right there. And what we can do is just go back into the shading panel and we'll press 0 on the numpad just to bring us back in. And with our boards selected, we can just go right here, browse the material to be linked, and we can choose whichever one we want. I think I'm going to choose material 3. And it looks a little dark. I'm going to just change this one to material 2. Yeah, I like that better. Yeah. Now, not bad. Not bad. I think that looks pretty good for spalted wood. And let's now add a few more lights to the scene just to give it a little bit more depth. Yeah, there we go. I just duplicated the two lights and then rotated them on the Z-axis. And there you go. You have created Spalted Wood. You can use it now in a variety of projects. If you want it to have the color, you can use that. If you want it just to have that classic look with the dark lines, you're good to go. So yeah, I hope this video helped you out. I hope that it really, helps you out in your projects. Consider hitting the like button and subscribing to my channel. Leave a comment also. I want to hear more feedback from you guys. I want to hear what you think of this and what you maybe are going to use this for in any of your projects. So yeah, I hope you guys have a great day. Create something awesome out there and just have a great weekend. See you next time.